Hey, Soul Tribe. I'm KamalaDevi, and happy Pride Month. It's actually full moon in June, which is Sagittarius moon. I think of Sagittarius like an adventurer towards truth. So it's an adventurous time. And I'm taking a bit of a risk this month, and I'm doing a coming out video. I want to come out. I want to talk about coming out and the importance of coming out culturally. Like, it's a culture changing conversation. And it has, my life is deeply touched and transformed by all the people that came out before me so that I can stand on their shoulders. And I know that my story is also important for other people who are inquiring and exploring their own sexuality, their own gender, their own identity. And so I'll start by saying, like, I'm wearing my they them t-shirt and I wanted to celebrate that this is becoming culturally more common as a conversation, and as challenging and I'd say awkward as it is to change language, to actually use non-gendered, gender neutral pronouns, and to do it consistently, because I misgender people all the time. And it's such a challenge to say, okay, regardless of how that person's presenting, how they identify is how I want to reflect back to them in language who they are. We're not mind readers, and we also have deep ingrained habits in our language. So it's a very powerful statement to ask people, what are your pronouns, and to actually share and practice, even if we get it wrong 50% of the time. It's still a really powerful culture changing statement, and participating in that conversation has been thought-provoking. I mean, I wish I could say it's been liberating, but it's actually just a deep thought-provoking, conversation-provoking practice. So I want to say up front that I'm proud to say I don't identify as masculine or feminine. Sometimes I'm both, sometimes I'm neither. Sometimes it's I'm confused. And personally, they, them is an embrace to whatever I'm feeling and whoever I see myself as. So I so celebrate and I'm grateful to the people who make that effort to use gender neutral pronouns for myself and for others. And that's not the coming out I want to talk about. I want to come out as pansexual and talk about the distinction between being pansexual and bisexual and the importance of that as well. With total celebration of everybody who considers themselves bisexual, as I did for, well over 20 years. So historically, this month, I'm going to my 30-year high school reunion. I know that dates me, but 30 years ago, 33 years ago, I came out. I was 16 in high school. And, my son's 16 now too. So same age that I was when I came out, although people in his community, in his classes are oh yeah, there's gay, straight, people come out. If they say they're monogamous, that's totally accepted as well. High schoolers really get it. They get the variety, the diversity, the, possibility. When I was in high school, it was not like that. It was, you are gay or you're straight. What are you? Pick. It wasn't anything else. In fact, if you were bisexual, you were considered confused or a traitor or or danger. We were just recovering from the AIDS pandemic crisis. And it was like, oh no, if you're bisexual, that means you're, you know, bringing AIDS to the straight community or vice versa. It was horrible, you know, stigma around being bi. So at 16 years old, I had a boyfriend, and he had a best friend. He had another friend who was a woman, young lady, girl at the time. Really, she was my age. She was a year older, and she was so beautiful. And she resented me, and I resented her because we both kind of shared my boyfriend. But when we got drunk, which the time we were doing that and other stuff, you know, this feeling of jealousy, competition, whatever, just melted into this attraction. And so we got drunk and we explored our attraction, and then sobered up and was like, what was that? And oh, that's not consistent with my identity. So it's just something we did when we were drunk, but we kept doing it. So it took some time with this exploration for me to actually go, hey, I do like women. And I was very confused about it. And I brought it to my father, who at the time was a psychologist, a professor of psychology. And he, you know, he reflected on it, and he said, Freud talks about penis envy and developmentally homosexuality is a type of a mental immaturity. And it must be that you weren't getting enough attention from your mother. So you're seeking attention from your female friends. Like, this was his explanation. And he thought, you need, you know, therapy. And this is something that we can work on. And at the time and I was happy to get therapy. I'm like, I needed attention. I needed help. I was confused. My, community at the time, like my father had no gay or queer references at all. My mother, you know, the only lesbiana that she knew in her pueblo was an old maid that lived outside of town, and everyone talked about her like, son lesbianas, like it's cancer, like, and she had no concept of it. And so when I came out to her, she was like, we don't say that in my house. Like, she was not mean and judgmental, just ignorant. Like, she didn't have any frame of reference. So in therapy, my therapist at the time, again, this is 33 years ago, pretty innocently was trying to help me. And there were references for conversion therapy at the time that looked like if I had fantasies or thoughts about women. I remember I had a math class and a teacher with really sexy legs or nylons, and I confessed those thoughts. And the practice was like, oh, you should pinch yourself and like make it repulsive to you to think those thoughts, and like, you know, snap a rubber band and do things that would make it like it painful to think about that, and instead think of like a man's hairy chest, or, you know, his Adam's apple, or can you fetishize the masculine? And so I remember being in conversion therapy, very confused, but because we did that for months and I still was attracted to women, I was like, I think I really am gay. So a lot unfolded from being gay, including, you know, being kicked out from my mom's house, including like when I went to college and came out to my college roommate. My college roommate packed up her stuff and left. And I had my own dorm room for the first year of college, because they wouldn't put because I was gay, they wouldn't give me a roommate. I was so unprepared to live on my own. So a lot of things happened, but most importantly is I created community. Like, there wasn't, at the time, lesbian bisexual discussion group was just forming. So I found myself in leadership. I found myself at gay prides. I found myself like really rallying around sexual liberation and doing a lot of performance art, theater, identity exploration. It was a really rich time. So I celebrate that. Although there was a lot of adversity, there weren't many role models. I knew that telling my story, performing our stories was super important so that other people like myself didn't have to go to the back pages of, the like classified ads was how I found out about the gay culture. There was no it was not an easy way to connect. So we built community, and I celebrate 33 years later that there is, so much visibility and possibility. And there's a huge distinction that's happened in my own life as I've acknowledged in the last 3 years that I've been on testosterone, but even before that, that my deep heart is attracted to trans, non-binary, gender-bending folk, like people who like to play with not just the polarity, but sometimes just be like, hey, gender doesn't relate to me, and they transcend that. And I want to name my husband. So he's got such a sensitive, sweet, innocent, feminine side that I adore. And I've always been attracted to the feminine and the masculine body, the feminine and the male body, and the masculine, and just the whole spectrum. So from that place, I identify as pansexual. I'm attracted to, all the genders, and I identify as gender transcendent because I don't, I can't really land in feeling feminine or masculine. And I really appreciate the permission for the exploration and the deep conversations that come from that, and the way that people find freedom in not being put into boxes. So that's my declaration for this month. And I hope it gives you permission to look at your gender identity as well as sexual identity, and some context to accept and support others who are on the journey. And I wish you the most magical, amazing Pride Month, and especially this full moon. Blessings.